Okay, so we're going to go in 3, 2, 1. Lions Lounge Lockdown, episode 70. Mick McCarthy. Mick, thanks for your time, mate.
Pleasure, Dan. Nice to meet you.
As I just said to your face, this is huge for me because it's my whole childhood. You being Millwall manager, some unbelievable memories. For that alone, the cup runs, I thank you greatly. But you're well known at Millwall for being a manager. But obviously, you joined as a player in 1990 from Lyon.
I did.
After a little loan spell. What was that like culture-wise, coming from Lyon to Millwall? How did it come about?
Definitely cultural difference. Absolutely. I'm living in a real... Well, I'm living in a city in London, but the Lyon, you know, they're just being promoted into the top league, and it's a beautiful city. And just watching football is different in France. I saw, you know, when I missed a couple of games and I walked up around the stadium and they're like having a baguette and a glass of wine and they're all having a chat. It was very different to how I've experienced football. Not just at Millwall. I mean, I'd played in most of the clubs everywhere in England. How did it come about? Bob Pearson gave me a call. I was with me and Fiona were decorating the house. We've rented a house in France in Lyon, and it needed a bit of tarting up, so we were doing a little bit ourselves. Didn't speak the language, didn't know where to go, so I was just putting the last piece of wallpaper on in the bathroom, and Fiona said, "There's a Bob Pearson on here, wants to have a chat to you from Millwall." And it was great for me because I was out of the team at Lyon. I'd had a knee operation in my last season at Celtic. And then when I went there, it started to play up. Through being out of the team, Remy Gard and Bruno Ngotti got in the team. And they were only like 19, 20, 21. And if you remember those two players, they were brilliant. Well, I'm not a lot of things. I'm a lot of things, but I'm not stupid. I wasn't getting back in the team, that's for sure. So when Bob rang me and asked me to come, and I mean, that was the year in the old First Division being promoted. So I thought, yes, I'll have a bit of that. It'd be great.
Signed by Bruce Rioch. Not many people have been slagged off on this podcast, but I can tell you Bruce Rioch's had a bit of ex-players. What was he like, Bruce? How did he convince you?
He didn't sign me, Dan.
I wasn't. It was Bob. Everything was Bob.
Bob Pearson had signed me. I'd signed prior to Bruce Rioch coming.
Were you meeting him?
It was already done.
Okay.
As far as I'm aware, it might have been signed off by him, but I'd already agreed to do it. You know, I was going to sign.
Yeah.
And so I really can't. No, I'd signed for Bob. Bob was there. I'd agreed to sign. And whether it got signed when Bob left and Bruce came, I don't know. Maybe it did, but I'd already agreed to sign for Bob Pearson. So it was a bit of a culture shock when Bruce got the job. Do you know what? I look back on it. You know, the things he did, like no jeans, you had to shave every day. All that did was just antagonise the players from day one. So no matter, and I have to tell you, he's a very, very good coach. He had some, you know, strange ways. That I look back and now he'd come in and he'd bounce in on a morning. You had to shake hands with him, and I kind of took that up myself. I think because players come into the training ground and they'll come in with caps on. They might not talk to you until about 10:25 when we're going out training. When at the time, I thought it was difficult because of the rules he put in place.
Yeah.
And he didn't play me either. You know, I was back fit and he didn't play me. But I look back, he was different. He wasn't everybody's cup of tea, but he was a bloody good coach. And he turned out to be a good manager as well. You know, he ended up at Bolton, Middlesbrough, done Bolton. He ended up at Arsenal, for heaven's sake. So,
he played some good stuff under him. Some of the goals back then, the players we had scored a lot of goals.
Was Bruce in charge when Alex Ray scored the best hat-trick I've ever seen at Nottingham?
Notts County. I thought you was.
I'll take the credit for it, Dan. Yeah, it was me that. I played that day, I'm sure. I think I tell you what, it's a lot. I've had a lot of games, but so we talk about Bruce. I found it tough with him because of the rules he put in place, and you know what, I think that just antagonised all the players. And you've said players have given him stick. I'm not going to give him stick because I've gone on to be a manager myself and a coach, and players don't always like what you're doing. Sometimes you get it wrong. You're doing it for the right reasons. What he probably thought that the club needed some discipline. But let me tell you, I think if you told any team now, right, from now on you have to shave every day and you have to wear trousers when you come in, and you have to have a collar and tie on the bus going to games, everybody would be pissed off. Everybody would be annoyed and everybody would be against the coach, no doubt.
100%. Yeah, they didn't so much give him stick. They all said he was a good coach, but just all the same things that you said, like you had to have a clean shave, you had to wear a suit. Apparently, Terry Earler walked straight back out the door at one point. But you signed on the same day as Malcolm Allen. I know that because Malcolm told me when he came on the show. He sung "No One Likes Us" in Welsh as well for us. What a character Malcolm is.
Oh yeah, I signed on the same day, did I?
He said you signed on the same day as Malcolm Allen. He said, yeah, signed on the same day as you. He said.
Wow, that's an interesting stat as well. No, we see. I'd been there before. I was on loan, wasn't I? Towards the end of the season. So when he signed, forgive me. I'd been there for the last 10 games or something, and then maybe when I did sign, we signed on the same day in terms of our contracts. Oh, Malcolm was fabulous. He was a great lad. As good as anybody with his back to goal. I remember when, he'll bring it up, I'm sure we played a diamond and he was in there, and he was terrific. Really good player. Self-destructed a little bit, did Malcolm, I think. I know I went to pick them up, and I'm the manager, and I went to pick him and Alex Rioch to come and have a meal before a game. So my wife Fiona, I said, look, come on, let's put some pasta on for them. Let's get, because I knew they weren't living the correct life. Let me just put it that way.
Yeah.
And I went and picked them up just around the back from an apartment flat in just around the old the back of the ground somewhere. And I picked them up on the Friday evening, brought them back, and I told them that we were having some pasta with peppers and vegetables or something. And one of them said to me, I'm the gaffer then, like, no, don't give us vegetables. My body might reject it, because I think they've been living off burgers and stuff. So they're not too pleased when I gave them vegetables on a Friday evening.
Oh, Malcolm said, I've had Alex round as well. He said when where did they live? They ended up moving down, I think, to Mepham to get out of the way a little bit. But he just said they
did. Yeah,
complete double act. It was just chaos. The pair of them, like together, they was double destruct.
Absolutely, two really top players, top lads. I got on great with them. And of course, when you think about it, I played with them, and then I'm managing, coaching them. But they were great guys. Really enjoyed their company.
You took over in March '92. Bruce Rioch was sacked after a 5-1 defeat at Portsmouth. What was it like, that transition to go from player to manager? Was it tough?
I actually got a call. Was it Sunday? We'd been beaten. Two stories from that. I was in the pub on Saturday night with John COLQUHOUN. I don't know if Andy May was with us, and we were discussing on the Sunday. It was after the game, discussing. Bruce had been under the cosh, and we were chatting about what teams we'd pick. So I picked my team with John COLQUHOUN, and he picked his team. So I told him my team, and I'm in my team, he's in my team. He picks his team, I'm in his team, but he don't pick himself. So I said, what? You're picking your own team, you're not picking yourself? No, he says, to be fair, I'm a bit of a bad back and struggling a little bit at the minute. So on the Tuesday, I get a call to go and see Mr. Burr, and I get the job. And I remember speaking to Taff. I said, Taff, I've been asked to go and see Mr. Burr. I said, I think they're going to offer me the player manager's job. He said, do they owe you money? I said, yeah, they do. They owe me a sign-on fee. He said, they might want to pay you up. You've not played for a while. So I went to see Mr. Burr with conflicting thoughts in my head. Anyway, Mr. Burr offered me the player manager job for the 10 games, I think it was. And of course, the first game I get is Port Vale at home, and I'm going out doing the training with Taff. Taff's my assistant then. I mean, completely wet behind the ears, but in terms of the coaching, but managing. So I picked the team, and of course, I picked the team. I'm not in it because I was injured, and I don't put John COLQUHOUN in it. So John COLQUHOUN comes to see me and said, "Okay, now we're in the pub on Friday and on Sunday night, and you're in the team. I'm in the team. You pick the team on Friday before the game. You're not in it." And he said, "I know you're injured, but I'm not in it." I said, "Well, on Sunday you weren't picking yourself, so let me tell you, if you're not in your own team, you're not going in my flipping team."
Oh,
if you ask John, he'll tell you a completely different story, but that's how it happened. So beware what you say to somebody who might become your boss. That's for sure.
Was you always thought becoming a manager, or it just got offered to you just out of the blue?
I never thought of that. I tell you what, I came back from France was part of the reason. Multiple reasons. I'd gone to France. Nobody knew me out there. I was in the team to start with. Then my knee was bothering me. There was a World Cup coming up, 1990 World Cup.
Yeah,
I needed to play football, not just be a bench player. And of course, there weren't all the subs at the time.
Of course.
But also, really, my thought process was, if I'm going to be injured, not play, and not be known in Lyon, not be known in France as the player that I thought I was, I'd just get lost. I've seen it. I've seen it when we've signed players and they're not in the team. They're still in the reserves. They're there for 12 months, 18 months. They go out on loan somewhere and then they're gone. And I didn't want that to happen to me. And what I also thought was, I wanted to go into coaching and management. And I thought, well, I'm not going to do it in France. So, reality is I might as well get myself back here. And first and foremost, try and help Millwall stay in the first division, because that's where I wanted to play. But 2, there's a World Cup. And 3, I was 31. I'm starting to think about my career going forward and becoming a manager.
You got a lot of games on your belt as a manager beyond Millwall. And it might have been potentially the best introduction, although it couldn't have been easy. Players in that squad when you took over: Chris Armstrong, Aidan Davison, Casey Keller, Alex Ray, Etienne Verveer, Gavin Maguire, real mix of characters in there.
Well, I think I signed Gavin, and at one point I had Gavin Maguire, Rhino, and I was part of Van den Houw in the squad as well. I mean, not that I liked assassins or anything like that, but there were 3 of them. And you know what? They were all great lads.
And Terry Hurlock as well. I think when Terry Hurlock came back as well.
Oh, I signed Terry Hurlock back, yeah. That was an interesting when I signed him as well, because I think his first game was at Luton. I'm sure his first game was at Luton. And I always have this thing, like, I don't let them wear baseball caps. You know, if they sat at the dinner table. Yeah. Or even when they come into the building, because they're coming with the building and it's like a mask. You know, get the cap off and speak to people and look people in the eye. And I'm looking down the table. There's a long table with everybody sat on it, and Terry's got his cap on. And I thought, the lads are wankers. They've told Terry to put his cap on and see whether the gaffer says anything to you, like see if he dare say anything to you.
Yeah.
I thought, oh, pricks, that's what they've done. Don't they? I said, Terry, do me a favour, take your cap off, will you? And he went, sorry, gaffer, sorry, apologies. And I got him completely wrong. He was so nice about it. I thought he was going to say, why? I thought the lads had wound him up, Why? And then I'm going to, because I say you should take it off, then I've got a bit of a problem, haven't I? So he was brilliant. He just went, oh, sorry, gaffer, I didn't mean that, But that was my first test. Terry was great.
You must have been.
Was it the Leicester game? Did you see the Leicester game when we had 2 sent off? Terry was sent off.
We had Terry on a long time ago, and he said He said he went back to Millwall. He said, and what was his wife's name? Can't remember. Anyway, he said the kids were watching the telly. She's gone out to put the roast dinner on, and she's come back, and the kids are going, "Where's Dad? Where's Dad?" He said, "His missus said she went out to put the peas on. Come back, he was gone. He'd been sent off."
Well, there was he was sent off. I'm not sure it was Ryan or we had 2 sent off.
It was on the telly on Sunday, was yeah.
They had 1 sent off, and then they had a young striker sent off, and he went off, and Martin O'Neill was the manager, and he said to the referee, "Have you sent him off?" He said, "No." So he went into the dressing room and brought him back on. So for about 2 minutes, we were 9 versus 9, and then it was 10 v 9. Oh, that was carnage game. That you know, the lads were all very competitive. It's a different game, as you see now. It's a different game. But yeah, I had 1 or 2, 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 players that would represent me as how I played the game. I guess as fairly competitive and sometimes over the top competitive. Yeah.
I heard you.
I'm trying to be nice to myself here, not to them.
I heard you still like to get involved in the 5-a-sides in training. That used to get quite intense, didn't it?
Oh, I used to. I loved it. Yeah. I mean, just you think I'm 33 when I took the job. I'm still full of fight and testosterone. Might be a bit different now, but I wanted to join in all the time. Yeah, I had run-ins with the players. I had a real run-in with Pat Van Den Houw when he was there. But got on great with them all. And since, I've met Pat since, and I got on great with him. But it was, listen, I said, if you're training, you train properly. You don't, it's not half measures. I remember a player I played with at Barnsley. I'd have only been 20, 21 or something. And he let somebody score. And I said to him, "Oh, what the fuck are you doing?" He said, "It's only training." And I had him by the throat. "It's only training? You can train like you play. If you do that in the training ground, you do it on the pitch." And, I never lost that. I never lost that competitive edge. So when I trained with them, I trained the same. It was interesting anyway. I enjoyed it.
If you got one football, put it in a changing room, you put in Terry Erlock, Pat Van Den Houw, Rhino and Gavin Maguire, turn the light off, and who would you be expecting walking out with that ball?
Oh, I think Terry would probably come out with the ball. I don't think there's any danger. I played against Terry when he played for Brentford.
Yeah.
So we were obviously only kids at the time, but he was that type of player then. And you know what? And let's not much maligned in terms of his because he was so tough. He was a bloody good footballer and all. He could play, and that's always the problem. I think when somebody is tough, they kind of overlook their ability as well. And yet he was a very talented player, but probably the best 50-50. If you're going to go into him, you want to be going in and mean it, because he's going to bury otherwise. Yeah,
he was known as a hard man, but like so many people say, he was such a good player as well. Technically, that sort of got overlooked.
Oh yeah, good player. That's what I say. He gets overlooked that a little bit. And you know what? I found him to be such a lovely fella, a gent as well. Really, really nice personality off the pitch. As I said, with that first incident with him, he was great to deal with.
You had Ian Evans, Taff, as your assistant.
Yeah.
Was Steve Harrison still there when you was there as well?
Steve Harrison, of course, left with the where we were at Southend, weren't we?
Yeah.
The debacle that was.
John Goodman's told us that story, so you haven't got to tell it again.
Well, I wasn't there. I had a knee up, strangely enough, and I went to watch the game. I drove to Southend to watch. I think it was Southend. I drove to the hotel for the pre-match meal to watch the game from home. Because at the time, you didn't go with the team, so I drove down myself. And I walked into the hotel and it was like that. And the mob, "Oh, fuck, you see what happened last night? Oh, man." Yes. I went, what happened? What happened? I said, and there was everybody had got a little different story about it and all that. It was just, seriously, I couldn't believe what had happened. But Bruce had been saying to Steve Harrison for ages, you've got, everybody, it was like legend has it. And they kept saying, you've got to do it. You've got to do it at some stage. Of course, when he does it, he gets the bloody sack. So
he was supposed to be very like a brilliant coach, Steve Harrison, but very, very comical as well. Like with some of the things he did, like
he was brilliant. Yeah, as good a coach as Taff really is up there with any of them. Ian Evans, brilliant coach, and now TC, of course, I've been with him for years, but it was the first one that really caught my attention as to how detailed he was and how good he was. But he was so funny. I mean, you know these suit carriers he has. He'd coming down to the hotel, he'd stand on it and slide all the way down the stairs and roll into reception. Just crazy, like walking to a swimming pool with all his bags and his clothes on. I know, and yet everybody loved him. I did. He was fabulous. Really good coach. He was a perfect foil for Bruce Rioch.
Yeah.
Because Bruce was like that, dead straight. Not, one of them, not a lot of humour in him unless he wanted to be. Unless he wanted to crack a funny or tell a joke, which was very unlikely and unusual. But so there was that, and Harry was perfect for him. He was perfect. He wasn't, and I'll tell you what, he was deadly serious about his football. On the training ground, there was no laughing and joking. Of course there is. There'd be something that'd be, you might joke or something. But when you were doing your training with Harry, it was dead serious. We're working now. Get on with it, and we're not pissing about. We're doing this. So it was unfortunate because that didn't do him any favours at all.
You mentioned a couple of times there your assistant Ian Evans, Taff. I know he's watched the show. He's watched a few interviews because his son messaged me and said, "Oh, Dad really likes it." But I've heard you on various podcasts. You speak very highly of him. Yeah. It's just good to hear a bit about these sort of people behind the scenes, because back then there was no social media. It was only a program that went out on Saturday in the South End Press. So
Dan, I wouldn't have had as many games as a manager as a coach without Taff. I remember the first game, Port Vale. I came in at half time. My tongue was about that big. It was that fat. I couldn't speak. My mouth was dry and everything. And he went, I'll do this. We'd been chatting during the game, what we wanted to do and all that. And he took over, which was good because I could hardly get the words out of my mouth. And he was with me all the time. Fabulous coach, great personality. I mean, we went, funnily enough, Port Vale again. Talk about Port Vale. I don't know why I had so much trouble with them. We went there and we lost 2-1 in the last minutes. I don't know if you can remember. And I went into the dressing room. We'd lost a few on the bounce. And there's, the pressure's coming. You can hear it, you feel it. And I went to the dressing room afterwards and I went bonkers and lambasted all of them. And I went right into them. And in the end, I walked out and I slammed the door behind me. And so Taff followed. I went and sat in the dugout. Taff followed me down there and said, "Are you all right?" No, I'm not. I was growling. So I had a chat to him, and always, as I say, you've got somebody else who's a foil that somebody can bounce things off. So we're coming back on the bus, and he said to me, "You know what?" He said, "I reckon we should go out for a few pints, and lads go out tomorrow night." And we're playing Nottingham Forest in the Cup on Tuesday. They're a first division team. We're a second division team. And they're going well. And I said, "You know what? Yeah, bollocks. Because if it's going to be my last game, we might have been out and had a few pints anyway." He says, "Yeah, but everybody's wound up. Everybody's, annoyed. Everybody's supercharged up and angry." And he said, "Let's just go out. I said, "Okay." So I went up to the back of the bus. "Right, we're all going out, lads, tomorrow night." "Oh, no, I've got this on." "No, you've got nothing on. We're going out." And we met in the Polar Bear, just up from Charing Cross there, and a pub called the Polar Bear. So I'll see you in there. Anyway, everybody turns up. We're having a few pints. all going well. Oh, and towards the end of the evening, some thick-set guy comes out with another fella and two girls, and he said that he said, "Are you in charge?" I'm told you're in charge. I said, "Yeah, I am." He said, "One of your players has just, touched with a bottle of beer or something." And I said, "Oh no." So he says, "And we're just coming to tell you we're going to do him." So we mean you're going to do him? He said, "We're going to beat him up because he's insulted my girlfriend." I said, "Oh, no, you're not." I said, "Because if you do that," I said, "we're going to beat you up." He went, "Do you know who I am?" I said, "No, I don't know who you are." I said, and quite clearly you don't know who I am. I said, "But I've got 30 people with me."
Yeah, we win on numbers, if nothing.
And so if you really want to start that, then, if you hit him, I'm going to hit you, and I can guarantee you 29 others are going to come in behind me. I said, "So I really suggest you don't do that. Let me apologize." I said, "Let me apologize on your behalf." No, we want to. I said, "Look, mate, if you want to do that, then you're in trouble." So, the lads were all in the bar at the time anyway. They go then, because they see everybody's there, they go. Anyway, everybody disperses. The lads are all gone, and there's me and Taff in the bar at like 11:30 still. I said, "Come on, let's go and get the train." And then I just had that sudden thought when there wasn't 29 others behind me.
It's 2 on 2 now.
They might be waiting for me outside the bar. Anyway, they weren't. And you know what? Who knows what happens? But we go to Nottingham Forest and play unbelievably well and beat them 2-0, was it? Beat them 2-0. And it was the winger we signed from Wimbledon.
Greg Berry.
Greg Berry.
Yeah, I remember.
God bless him. Probably kept me in a job. Greg Berry scored the 2 goals. We beat them 2-0. And then we won 5 or 6 games on the bounce. I got manager of the month. Well, can I put it down to that night going out? It didn't do any harm.
Yeah.
And we went back in Monday morning. All the lads are still a little bit, had a few drinks. We had a small-sided game. Right, come on, let's get up to Nottingham Forest. And we played unbelievably well. And quite clearly, it wasn't through coaching or through tactics. It was the fact that I think we just cleared the air and said, "Look, this is what we've got. Let's get on with it and let's go and have it with Forest." And we did.
And nearly had it with 2 blokes and their 2 girlfriends.
I know. That was when, he was a big, thick-set lad like this. And I thought, if he stood outside and he's seen all the lads go, I could be in trouble here. But anyway, we weren't. I think the lads saw that, there was a real good camaraderie with us anyway. And I think that just galvanised it. And we had a decent season.
Going back to the 92-93 season, you sort of, the job you came into, I know there's probably no easy job in football, but I said like the squad you inherited and then like the change in the club, the transition between the old Den and the new. Let's talk a little bit about the final season at Den. We just missed out on the playoffs, but we've heard some great stories again, especially from Casey Keller, who give a brilliant account of when he had to run off the pitch in the final game against Bristol Rovers and got back to the dressing room with absolutely nothing on. What was it like for you, just Millwall fans in general, like the early encounters of them?
Well, it just kicked off, didn't it? It was just towards the end of the game. We kicked off. We kicked off about 5 times, I think, coming back on the pitch. There were people up on the stands, like crawling around on top. It was like a cat walking across the top. And they just came on the pitch. I don't know why it was, but anyway, lots of people took souvenirs. I remember people saying to me they saw people walking down the Old Kent Road with a crossbar, a couple of them carrying a crossbar and carrying nets. Now, whether this is true or not, I'm sure it was because they all went. But they picked the turf up and they were throwing the turf into the director's box. And so when we came back on the pitch really wasn't fit to play on.
No, it wasn't. I'm sure it might be my vivid memory, but I'm sure I saw someone running on with like a little bucket and it's like a bucket and spade, like digging it up. So I was going to say to you, by the time like the 3rd or 4th time, the pitch weren't playable. There's massive chunks out of it.
Yeah, every chance. I mean, I've been told stories. I believe in that. People are walking down with a flag they've got the flag post and somebody's walking out. Somebody's got a seat and they've took the seat with them. That was their seat, and so they're walking down, they've got the seat with them. And I kind of love that anyway, because that just shows what it meant to them, the club. I mean, it was some place to play. It was intimidating for anybody playing there, that's for sure. And I guess that's why, I mean, there was a bit of an outcry, wasn't there, when they were going to move stadiums?
Yeah.
But I mean, fair play to Mr. Burr and everybody else who did it, because you can't imagine playing at the Old End now.
No.
They're going to have to move. So, I mean, the stadium, I thought, was brilliant, what they did, what they achieved with it.
Funny enough, I was going to ask you, so I didn't really need to make notes today because I've lived it, but I actually got there next. Reg Burr, obviously I've asked you about Steve Harrison and Ian Evans. You said there just a minute ago that people were throwing turf into the director's box and then someone made a flag. I'll put it on, you won't be able to see it, I'll put it on the screen when I edit it. Like, here lies the den, murdered by Reg Burr, 1910 to 1993. How did you find him as a chairman? And I love the way you still call him Mr. Burr, like so respectful.
He never had any doubt with that. I think he once said to me about, and I did, he's Mr. Burr, always has been. And I'm not like that. I mean, my teachers, aunties, uncles are all the first name I call them by.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was Mr. Burr then, and he still is now, God rest his soul. I got on well with him. I had a couple of falling outs with him. I remember. Yeah, I did. But you know, I think that's football managers with the chairman, and I really enjoyed his company. I used to go and meet him maybe once a month up in London. It was great because he never had any board meetings. He just said, "I'll see you for dinner." So we go up, I'd have dinner with him and a few beers and a glass of wine.
Lovely.
And he'd drop me off at the station and I'd come back, and it was brilliant. And I really liked him. No axe to grind with him at all. And I don't know anything about the finances. I don't know what it was, you know, with the club. When you look now, I look back and you think of the money in football and what's being spent now. Mr. Burr, if he was running that club, I don't know how much money he got, but to run a football club, you know, well, they say if you want to become a millionaire, start off with $1 billion and buy a football club. That'll soon get you down to $1 million. He supported me. He was tough on me at times, but he supported me. He gave me the job in the first place. He trusted me with it, gave me the job, and backed me in terms of his support. I don't know if there's any. I haven't entered a job yet where there's been loads of money, but it was such a good grounding for me, and I learnt a lot off him as well. You know, some things that I'd do and some things I wouldn't do, of course. But overall, I had a great relationship with him. Yeah. Yeah,
I think just football fans in general, if you look at it, like we say now, we look at back at it now, it's absolutely the right decision. But football fans don't like change. No, that was our home. But looking back in hindsight, it's absolutely the right thing to do. He's one of the first to do it, wasn't he? Following like the Taylor report. So fair play.
Yes, yeah, it was. I think I understand that, the love for the old stadiums, but they'd have had to move at some stage, and because it was Mr. Burr that decided they were going to do it. I just wonder, you know, I look now with money. Well, you need a shed load of money to get promoted. You know, we got in the playoffs with, you know, I don't know what budget we had. We were begging, stealing and borrowing, that's for sure. We weren't paying great wages. All I can say is he gave me support personally in terms of doing the job. And I said he was tough on me. He wouldn't let me go. I mean, when I went to meet him, he'd be asking me the questions and why would this happen, why that happened. But overall, I can't. He gave me my opportunity to be a coach and a manager. By the way, I know Peter Mead would have had a hand in that because Peter was a board member, and you know I've remained friends with Peter Mead for a long time, as I did with Mr. Burr until he went. God bless him. I'll tell you what he did for me once. We were away in Portugal with my wife and kids, and my son was and he's only about 4, and he's playing with his car, and he was playing it on the bar because we're just ordering a drink. You know, it's a family place, by the way.
Yeah.
And then he came across to me, and my little fella Michael said, "Daddy," he said, "a man's took my car off me." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "A man's took my car off me and he's thrown it over the bar." I said, "Can you just come and show me, man?" So I walked across to him, and this guy, Michael, my son Michael, sort of taps me. "That's him, Dad." So I said, "Excuse me." I said, "Have you took my son's car off him?" "I have." Well, I said, "What have you done with it?" And at that, the barman come and said, "Oh, I've got it here." I said, "No, I'm asking this chap what he do with it." He said, "I threw it over the bar." I said, "What for?" I said, don't. Anyway, the guy elbowed me. So
Elbowed you?
Elbowed me, yeah. So we ended up on the floor. And it didn't, just to put it mildly, it didn't end well for him anyway, put it that way. And so I was in a real panic. I thought, blooming heck, this is the first thing, I just took the Millwall job.
Yeah.
The last thing I need is that kind of publicity. Look, thank God there was no cameras on phones and all that, because it would have been terrible. So I went and saw the people who ran the hotel. I squared it with them and what had happened, and I rang Mr. Burr, and I told him. He said, "What did he do?" He said, "Did he throw your son's car over the bar?" I said, "He did." He said, "Did he elbow you first?" I said, "He did." He said, "Didn't you smack him?" I said, "I did." He said, "You did fucking right, because I'd have done the same." And for to this day, I'm eternally grateful for the way he took that, because he could have took it completely the other way. And I wasn't the instigator of it, and I think he supported me there and then, and that could have been right early. And if that had happened now to somebody and it's all over the place,
it'd be everywhere.
You lose your job,
Yeah.
And he was great. He really supported me. So I haven't got a bad word to say about him. Although I had arguments with him, we had discussions, and we had fallouts.
Yeah, of course.
It was good to me and good for me.
When that bloke elbowed you, you must have thought, mate, you've got no idea how many centre forwards have backed into me. Bounced off here for here we go.
Well, I was used to that. That was no problem. Yes. And then of course he got his back to me, so I pulled him off the stool. I said it didn't end well.
Brilliant. You said you wasn't sure your budget, but in that last season at the Old Den, so we just missed out on the plus. Built a really good team. I just remember that year, loads of games being on the TV. Score, I think 6 against Brentford, 5 against Notts County. Jamie Morley came to the club, who later became your agent, didn't he?
Jamie was brilliant. Jamie was terrific. Real breath of fresh air he was in. I mean, we had some good players. Andy May while he was playing, was excellent. We played that diamond, and to be fair, I'm saying Taff was such a good coach. It was Taff that said to me, because I'd been 4-4-2, he said, "Oh, how do you fancy trying this?" I went, "Yeah, I would quite like that." The 2 centre forwards used to split and run wide, and we always had a Malkin or somebody playing in that 10 role now. And we'd have the midfield players that run wide and play out there, and it just fullbacks were bombing on all the time. It was brilliant, and if we played well, we battered teams. Teams didn't know how to cope with it. It was great.
Really, apart from Johnny Goodman, didn't he? Quite a lot. A good little partnership. Yeah,
Johnny Goodman was the runner, though. Johnny Goodman was the one that would run in behind. He was really quick and athletic, and you knew that if you sucked the full back in and you stuck it in behind, then Johnny would be running and drag the centre half out of the middle, and more often than not he'd get the ball. But yeah, we had some good players. Yeah, I mean, Andy Roberts came through, Ben Thatcher came through the team. We had Sparky Mark Kennedy for a while, who came through the youth team, and it didn't last long because he went off to Liverpool. Andy Roberts and Thatch were 2 really good players.
Is that credit to Tom Wally as well for nurturing that youth side?
Tom Wally was brilliant, man. Tom Wally was he was like a father to them all because he was blooming tough on them. Oh man, he was tough. He took no SH1T off anybody, and you know, the lads knew, and they were drilled, really well drilled in how to play, how to behave, you know, running, athleticism, fitness. There were everything. He gave it to them, and yeah, really, really good coach.
Yes, it's just really good for like to hear him say about the Tom Wallies and the Taffs, because I know a lot of Mill fans still talk about those sort of people, but never really saw or heard anything from him in the press because of the time he lived in. Do you know what I mean?
No, they didn't. Well, Ron Howard as well was the coach. Sorry, the scout that was there, and you know, he was the one that goes out scouting all these players. We all did it at the time. You know, every night there's a game. Me, Taff, Tom, Ron, Dave Bowman, who was my chief scout, who's been with me all my career. We were all out looking at games, all watching either the opposition or somebody that's recommended, somebody that we've seen, somebody that we might try and sign. That's how it was done then. It wasn't done on the computers. It was done get out to the games.
It's funny you said that because I did want to ask you something along those lines. We'll get into that a little bit later about some of the players signed for us. But our first season, obviously, the New Den, the 93-94 season, opening game, friendly against Sporting Lisbon. We lost 2-1. John Kerr gets another one. John Kerr gets the first ever goal. Managed by Bobby Robson, Sporting Lisbon. A young Luis Figo in their starting 11 as well.
Was he? Wow. Yeah. He's yeah. Well, I came across Luis Figo a few times then through international football. Wonderful player. But Bobby Robson, Sir Bobby, I remember speaking to him after the game. I said, I'm sure he said, I went to shake hands with him, you know, and I'm sure he said something like, fucking friendly. I said, I'm sure that were the words he used. Well, it turned out to be a real physical game, you know, on every aspect. But that's how I sent my teams out. And I said before, like, you know, you don't go out and train and just be nice or friendlies. I don't like friendlies. I don't even like the word friendly, to be quite honest. Certainly as a player, I didn't. I got to understand it as a manager and as a coach that they're a means to an end. But when I was playing, there was no such thing as a friendly. Because you want to win. Yeah. So, it was an interesting opening game, that, yeah. And fortunately, Bobby, we remain friends anyway.
Well, I don't know if you, because he got you back a little bit later. I'm not going to get on the Russian jet. I cannot wait for that, but that's still a little while. Just said about John Kerr then as well. Two other names I've got there. I said about how do you get these players. Like now you've got it on the computer and you've got scouts. They've got the budget to go abroad.
Yeah.
John Kerr, Dave Mitchell was probably the best of those. Well, this trio. Bruce Murray. How does, for example, Bruce Murray? Please tell me a bit about Bruce and how does he end up at Millwall?
Well, firstly, Dave Mitchell, that was one of the times I fell out with Mr. Burr. It's about what I said to him. We signed him. I knew him. I'd played against him. I knew all about Dave and we had a chance to sign him. Great lad, him. Bruce Murray, I'm trying to remember how any of it came around. I've no idea. Seriously. And John, who was affectionately known as Wayne, and I say affectionately known because he was a good player, John. And Bruce was a handful. He just...
he was like a big giraffe, wasn't he? He was like a big gangly giraffe with a big mullet and big ears.
He ran, he was powerful, he was quick, he was athletic, you know. Not the best finisher, not the most technically gifted, but I mean, he was a handful. I don't know how many games he played for us. But, you know, that's where we were in terms of trying to sign players with a budget. We never went out and bought somebody for 2 or 3. Well, we did a couple of times, but go out and sign somebody for big money, you know, which it wasn't. We didn't do that.
There's one other player I want to talk to you about in particular, and a day that he absolutely lit up the den. He's been on the show as well. Etienne Vivia, 3-0 win against Palace on New Year's Day.
Yeah.
Overhead kick off the bar, won a penalty as well, I think, for Alex Ray.
Yeah, Etienne was magnificent on his day. I mean, one of those real big, athletic, technically gifted. Sadly for both me and him, I ended up falling out with him because it was at the time where it wasn't the Bosman ruling where you could just leave. You just stayed on your wages.
Of course, yeah.
He lets his contract run out and then he don't want to play. And, you know, we couldn't sign him, couldn't play him, yet he comes and he wants to train with us. I'm thinking, fuck off. No, I don't want you fucking around here. Either you're with us or you're not with us. Sorry, if I should swear on this.
Oh, mate, I fucking love it. It's brilliant.
Sorry, no, but that's how I felt. You know, I thought,
yeah.
And then I remember the secretary, because he used to get your money, he used to get it.
That's mad, though. You think when the Bosman come in, everyone was like, what? But when you think about now, a player just sits there on his wages, won't train, won't play. But I think with ET he had loads of injuries, so he probably thought, I don't want to risk playing.
I know. It was different to, you know, I'd say he was a really good player, physically good, sensitive lad. But, you know, he'd come and see me, and then they had to send him his money. And I said to the secretary, give me his wage packet, will you? Let him make him come and get it off me. I want him to come in my office and I'll give it to him. They wouldn't do that. for multiple reasons, I guess. But Etty, what a good player. And you know what? Don't get me wrong, I'm a young manager. I'm 34 or 5 at the time. I'm wet behind the ears. That's the first time it's happened to me. And I'm thinking, we've got a guy here who's taking a wage. I just couldn't see any rhyme or reason. He's getting paid, and he's doing no, and he's not going to play. And yet he can sit there as long as he wants.
But the Millwall fans will love that because it's not just morally wrong. You're like protecting the club there as well, and our financial interest.
Yeah. Look, now I'm 65 and I've been around a bit longer. I can understand it from his position. Yeah. He's obviously thinking he can get more money, he can get a better club. He wants better terms and conditions that's being offered. So he can sit there. I still don't like it. I still find that hard to do. I mean, I had it at Manchester City, and I came out of contract, and I ended up signing another contract because I wanted to play and I wanted to be in the team. And you know, if you haven't signed and you're just taking your wages, well, I could understand the rest of the lads not being happy with me, you know, and the manager not picking me. So that's how I had it. But yeah, he did score an unbelievable hat-trick, and on his day, he was a fabulous player. Where did he go, by the way, afterwards?
I think he went to Aberdeen, but only played like 2 or 3 games. And I was trying to track him down for years.
Up there. It was cold up there, mate. I'll tell you.
I'm going to Edinburgh tomorrow. I'll find out. But yeah, I was. What was I going to say? So I lost my train of thought there. Yeah, he left, went to Aberdeen, and I was trying to track him down for years. And some guy who watches the channel walked into a chiropractor's, and their team of was in there getting his back sorted out. And he put me in touch with him, and he came on the show. Yeah, I think he's an estate agent there in Amsterdam.
Is it? Well, he'll be good at that, I'm sure. I've no actually grind with him now. No, he was such a lovely guy.
Yeah.
And the last person I'm going to fall out with, but the situation changes when I'm the manager and we're having to pay him. And we haven't got loads of players, and he's one of our best players. He don't want to play, and he still get his wages. That didn't sit very well with me. That I have to be honest.
But I was just looking at from that season, our squad list, like 40 odd players. Like back then, 3 subs? You must have had people knocking on the door like trying. It must have been such a difficult start to management for you. It's probably why he went on to do so well and to have such a long career. But we had 45 first-team players at one point. Half of them lunatics. Well, your door must have been constantly getting knocked on.
Yeah, I can't imagine why we got to that amount of players. I really don't know. I think I was okay. Well, I must have been, because I've had all those games at managing them. You know, not expectations. I'd be honest with them.
Yeah.
If you're not playing for me, look, lads, you're not playing. Look, Bill, John, Phil, Steve, Tom, whatever the names are. You're not playing. You're not going to play for me. there's nothing. I've got no extra ground with it. This is what I'm picking. This is what I think is my best squad. And I think they appreciate it. Then, well, you can go.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And so long as you don't treat them badly, because I've been at clubs where they always call it the bomb squad, and then the bomb squad, the first team squad that have played on Tuesday night are not in, but the bomb squad are, and they come in and run or they train with the kids. Now, I understand they've still got to train, but I know it's done to piss them off.
Yeah.
As much as anything else, and to satisfy the anger of the manager or the coach, because these lads will keep coming in to see him. So he goes, right, you could be in on Wednesday, and you're running around with the youngs. And by the way, I won't be in on Wednesday because I'll be having the day off because we play Tuesday. And all it does is exacerbate all the bad feeling towards everybody else.
Yeah.
So I tried throughout wherever I've been is to be, I've been honest with them and not, there might be one or two that I've done it to because they've really pissed me off completely. And they're doing it to me, so I've reciprocated, but I wasn't that type.
Yeah.
And maybe that's, I'd seen it happen when I was a player and I didn't like that. So I tried to look after players.
Well, you obviously done the right thing, mate, because we ended up in the playoffs that year. Finished third, quite a long way from Derby in sixth place. But obviously, we lost 2-0 up at their ground. Then they scored early, didn't they? Marco Gabbiadini that night. And then, obviously, the chaos that ensued after that. Was that gutting? We finished that far clear of them in sixth?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I can't say I did myself any favours in that first game.
Oh, really?
How we played, and it was, I don't know. We got overrun. I don't know. I don't think we went. We certainly didn't go there cockily, thinking we were going to win. But I still thought we could recover at home. So with the crowd behind us and everything. But we conceded a goal in 4 minutes was it or something? Very early on. Never gave us a chance. I thought if we get a goal back, if we get it to 2-1 and we're at home, we'll win. And that was kind of the plan. Well, great plan. That's everybody's plan. We'll get a goal back and then we'll score 2 more and win. But my point being, had we got it to 2-1, that would have been a hell of an atmosphere.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we conceded a stupid goal after. And maybe that was, I don't know, did we set up to go and try and get the goal early and we got caught in the break? But he said Gabbiadini was a good player as well, to be fair.
He was a good player. There was no social media then, as we know, but it still must have been intense. The questions you was getting asked with things like what happened afterwards. We've heard loads of players from stories like the Derby press car getting turned upside down in the car park. It was
a Beetle, wasn't it? They told me it was a Beetle, so there was this Beetle, but it's with 2 or 3 wheels spinning.
Beetle on his
upside down on its head. I don't know. It was, and of course, it's my first as a manager, my first really big test in a playoff. So it didn't sit well with me, that's for sure.
Yeah, I can imagine, mate. So the 94-95 season, obviously, off the back of that, we're probably thinking, I'm going to go close again. We didn't. We finished 13th. Do you think the FA Cup run hindered our league progress a little bit?
I think it can do, but did we overachieve in the one before? I don't know. Did we sell anybody? What did we do? I can't remember the deal.
I think John Goodman went. Did John Goodman go to Wimbledon with Kenny Cunningham in a double deal?
It was always, we're always selling players off and having to replace them, and hopefully you can replace them with as good as they were, and that's pretty much not achievable, because we sell good players on. The cup runs were great. I mean, but I think that they can affect the league form, as we've seen with anybody, But everybody enjoyed the cup runs, I think.
Mate, as I've said this, my brother took me to the Arsenal away game. He's a lot older than me. He was living in Brixton at the time, and I was from Welling, so I had to go to school the next day. I was knackered. He dropped me down for Brixton. in that clock end, I think there's like 6,000 of us. Mark Beer scored the first one in the first half, and I won't embarrass myself and do it, but I can still re-script and tell you now the whole commentary for the second goal, like that Mark Kennedy scored up from the highlights.
Yeah,
and I think he cut to the bench. He was on the bench. Thatcher had to come off that point. He was on the bench. Brought a brilliant night for the football club. Won the Storm.
That was incredible night. Yeah, because we'd had one at Chelsea and all, hadn't we?
I wanted that go. That one, my dad wouldn't let me go. So after the home game, which was a draw, that was chaos.
Yeah.
So I had to listen to that on Capital Gold. Casey Keller makes the winning save, and they all get bundled by the Chelsea fans. It
went to extra time, didn't it?
Yeah, extra time. Dave Savage scored.
Yeah.
He equalised Mark Steen's goal. Yeah. I think that was
because it was funny because we'd arranged. My mate said, "Well, we'll go out because we're up in London. We'll go out and have a bite to eat after the game." You know. I said, "Yeah, okay, I'll meet you. We'll go somewhere." And I think he booked it for about 10 o'clock, not thinking we're going to be too late. I turned up about 11:45, I think.
Yeah.
The game just well. Anyway, but the Arsenal game was amazing, and it was so good to beat Arsenal because we played them before. We played them at the Den, didn't we?
Yeah, 0-0.
Yeah, we had some good games against them and all, didn't we? Because David Seaman, penalties.
I beat us in the 1-0 in the League Cup at our ground.
So the game at Highbury, which was just a fabulous evening. Yeah, that was great. So whether it affected, it's easy to say, innit? It affected it. Were we that good? Were we? We were competitive, as all I would say all my teams are. We played some really good football against them as well, and it was a great game against Arsenal.
Yeah, really good. Did you? I just think this just popped into my head. Obviously, new manager, young manager, first job, nearly take us to the playoffs. Second year, we make the playoffs. Third year, we're knocking Premier League teams out of the FA Cup. Did anyone ever come inquiring about your services? While was it Millwall before?
I don't know, Dan. I didn't have an agent. I had no agent working for me, and I was never looking for it. I thought if I'm a success at Millwall, I'll go on somewhere else and get another job.
Yeah.
Not me thinking, oh, I've had 2 years here now. Can I get somewhere else? Actually, I did get a call from Wolves. Irony. The irony of that is I ended up there like 15 years later.
Yeah.
But somebody called me about that, and I remember thinking it wasn't for me. I was wet behind the ears, like not that long in. I can't remember. I just got a call, and I kind of
dismissed it.
I never gave it any thought. I was thoroughly enjoying my job, and so I see it as my job at Millwall. I loved it, and those years when we finished in the playoffs and everything was all new and exciting to me because I'm a young coach. I mean, some of it's it can be tough when you've lost a few games, but I had a really good rapport, I think, with the supporters. We played good football. We were competitive. I think all the things that Millwall fans want to see, really. They never saw players fanny around or, not try or not run around, which I think that is, what it's all about, to be honest. I've said to anybody, if you can't play, just fucking run around as much as you can and disturb the opposition and just, but don't come off here without a sweat on you, and don't come off like you've not slid on the ground and your shorts aren't dirty. Come on. So I think that the way the team played or operated was appreciated because they were competitive.
Yeah. The way you are, like now, even now, I can tell how passionate you are, even telling the old stories and everything you're saying. We're currently without a manager. Every time. When I said you was coming on the show, people was like, get him back, get him back.
I think you might have as much chance as me, Dan. So we'll both put our name in. I'm not gonna be arrogant here. Please don't think I am. If I have to put my name in for the job, I'm definitely not getting it.
That's the reverse of being arrogant, isn't it?
Well, people. So if you're looking for a manager, when things are going a little bit badly, they're all looking at him. Let me tell you, all the directors and sporting directors and whatever they call these guys who fuck the managers up and fucking buy players that the managers don't want, whatever they call them. Some of them do that and all,
Recruitments and directors.
Recruitment staff. So whatever, they're going through all of it all the time. Somebody managed under the cosh, they're starting. And I know it's started now where clubs, chairman will interview people while they've got a manager. If people are at work, they'll go and have a coffee with them and have a sit and a chat, and So my point being, if that's been the case, if anybody thought they were going to give me the job, I'd have had a worm in me here already, certainly, or somebody would have had. And I'm not talking about Millwall, I'm talking about anywhere else.
Anyway,
But that's what I say, if I have to apply for it, and they go, oh, forgot about him. The geezer that had 1,050 games or something, I don't know what it is, 1,040 games. So no, and the game's changed as well.
Yeah.
And I'll be brutally honest with you, there are days when I really miss it. And when I'm talking about it, I miss it. I'm passionate about it.
Yeah.
And then there are other days I think, what the fuck would I want to do that for again? Jesus, yeah. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
But I have more days when I have happy thoughts about it.
That's good, mate. That's good. So the 95-96 season was your last season in charge. Two names I've got. Well, the biggest one we need to talk about is Uwe Fuchs signing for the club.
I know, and it was somebody, one of my mates, renamed him Duvet Fuchs because he was always on the fucking floor, laying on the floor like a duvet. So, and I tell you what, it was the biggest, powerful, really good technical player. But I think he had about one really good game for us at Reading. Sure, we went to Reading and played really well, and he scored. But yeah, that's when my mate called him because he was such a big, strong guy, and he renamed him Duvet. He was always laying down.
He came to us, by the way, didn't he? Off the back of scoring like 11 in 15 for Middlesbrough and London.
Yeah.
He can
unbelievable. You'd have thought, we were playing 4-4-2 with wingers and all that. You'd have thought he'd have thrived on it. Do you know what? And funnily enough, I was in Portugal. There's only two of us playing golf, so we got made to be a 4-ball. So we go out and there's two Germans that we're going to play with. That can be a win or a lose. You don't know what they're going to be like, So a man and a woman. So it could have been chaos. Anyway, we got chatting to him and, where are you from? And where are you? Football, Millwall. Oh, we have a player. Here comes. He played for Millwall. I said, who's that? Uwe Fuchs. I thought, I said, that was great for us. Really nice lad. I wasn't going to say anything else. Oh dear. Do you know what? I'm sure he came and he tried his best and it just didn't work out. But when we signed him, I thought we'd signed a really top striker that was going to do wonders for us.
I'm sure he signed, and in pre-season we played Southampton and we beat him 3-0. Bruce Rioch was in goal, and he scored that day, I think. And everyone was going like, Uwe, thinking he's going to be the absolute bollocks. And but sadly he wasn't. I remember someone said to him, like, they're laughing at you, mate, when he thought, because he kept jumping and falling on the floor. People thought he was trying hard, but it's another actually taking the piss at you. They're laughing at you, not with you. Like for the old duvet tag. But what was he like as a person?
Very nice. Yeah, he was. Yeah, there was just a regular guy. There was nothing about him I didn't like. There was nothing. Just a regular guy. But I think he was. I think you know, when I saw him playing at Middlesbrough, he looked like this big, rough and tough guy. That wasn't him. No. I think he fancied himself being more technically a more technical player than he was, rather than running in channels and, you know, sticking it and spinning and getting in the box and scoring goals.
Yeah, I think we paid like $750,000 for him, which is a lot of money.
Yeah,
anyway, especially for, and another player we signed, I think for about $300-400 was Chris Malkin. I quite like Malkin. I thought he was a decent striker.
Yes, yeah. I thought he was. I liked him as well. You know, I say so it was a different. Well, we played 4-4-2, and you know, we would stick the ball in the channel. He's a willing runner. You stick it in behind the fullback, get it, set it up, put crosses in the box. He was all right into his feet. Chris, he was a great lad, fabulous lad. I tell you what, though, he had a bit of an issue with his knee. It was funny because after a while when he'd been in, he's always got ice on his knee, and it was like a bag of. He says it was like a bag of tanners, bag of sixpences. Can you remember sixpences?
No.
Well, there used to be a penny, there used to be a threepenny bit, and there used to be a sixpence. It was a little silver coin, and he says somebody said to him, "Fucking hell, it's like a bag of tanners." So it'd be like a bag of pennies. His knee, it was massive.
Just in millions of bits. He must have learned because he's a physiotherapist now.
Yeah, and he was a great lad. You know, when you always want people to do well. I want to do well. Fuchs to do well. We've spent money on him, and for all intents and purposes, he looked like a great signing. Didn't work out. Chris Malkin, for how he was, what a great lad he was, and how he trained and everything about him. You know, you wanted him to do it well, but sadly not. So.
He scored a few, Malcolm. I remember your voice. Do you remember the Millwall club call where you used to be able to ring up? And as you rung up, it would say, "Hi, I'm MICK McCARTHY, bringing you all the latest news, views, and interviews direct from the dead." If you could ring up on a match day, like we played Oldham away once during midweek, and I rung up, my dad said, "You can ring up and listen for 5 minutes." It was like 89p a minute. And I sat on the phone like that. We come back 2-0 down at Oldham and drew 2.
I'm going to say we did well. Yes, yeah, go on.
And my dad went absolutely mad when the phone bill, because it's an itemised, when it come through. He said, "You fucking been on that phone 35 minutes." Listen to near enough the whole second half. But Malkin scored that night. Scored the equaliser from 2 down at Boundary Park. Brilliant memories. I won't keep too much longer, mate. Sorry, but talking about strikers and talking about cup runs. This was the season we had the famous League Cup win at Everton, Goodison Park. Scott Taylor hat trick.
Oh yes! Wow! Yeah.
Dave Savage scored a really good goal that day as well, I think.
Sorry?
Dave Savage scored a really good goal that day as well.
Did he? Sav was a good player. Sav should have done better than he did. He was when he signed as a right winger, I really liked him. He was great. And Scott Taylor, wow. I remember seeing him. We signed him. We signed some, because we talked about some of the players that haven't done so well. I think we signed some good ones, I know, that did well for next to no, you know, and Scott Taylor was one of them. Having
Scott Taylor from Stainstown. Yeah.
And then on the way home from that game, I got a call from somebody offering, somebody wants to buy him for £1 million.
Did you on the way home from the game?
Yeah. And I said, I gave him the Norwich estate agent, Norfolk and Chance. I said, no. I said, we not a chance. No. I said, fucking not even thinking about it. You know, he's the next thing. He's going to be it. So, and of course, as it turned out, it would have been money well taken for £1 million, because he didn't go on, did he, and fulfil his potential like he was.
He went to, no, he didn't. I think he went to Bolton for a bit, and then I think he dropped back into the non-leagues. But another famous night. And was that a little bit of a speciality of yours, it seems? You know, Everton, Arsenal, Chelsea. Do you don't think you'll ever find a team that will beat them three in a season and a half in cups again?
I don't know if it's a speciality. I wish it had been a speciality of mine when I was at Wolves and I was in the Premier League beating all those teams. You know, sometimes you can get you can get a group of lads and get them wound up for games, you know, like for specific games, and they want to play. And you always have to think about the opponents as well. That Everton might be thinking they'll not be on red alert because Millwall are coming up there. Chelsea probably weren't on, I should say, blue alert really, but they won't be thinking, they won't be at home shitting themselves, put it that way, that Millwall are coming to play. But me and Taff and all the lads, we're like, fucking, you know, we want this, we want to beat this lot, we want to get at them, you know. And by the way, we played some good football. We were a good footballing team, but we were a right competitive team. And I'm not saying they did, but if they didn't take us seriously enough, you could get your nose blooded very easily by us, you know, because we could play, but we're always going to be competitive.
100%, mate. So, one of your last acts as Millwall manager, this fucking fascinates me still to this day. I actually found a little video on YouTube earlier that I'd never seen before. The Russians, Sergei Yuran and Vasyl Ekoku. I just want to know as much as you could willing to tell me about what I mean. There was rumours to be on $5,000 a week each, rumoured to be just constantly on the piss.
Yeah.
Also, just
well, yeah. I mean, if anything was the downfall of me anyway. I mean, I know I'd been offered the Ireland job. It was a good time to take it, having signed those two fuckers. That's for sure. I get a message on my answer machine at home when it was a time. There's no mobile phones. I walk in. There's a message on it. We got these two Russians. I remember an agent, you know, and they wanted to bring them to us. So I inquired about them. They've been playing for
CSKA Moscow, was it?
Moscow, yeah. So and Bobby Robson knew them. So I rang Bobby and asked him, and he just said to me, he said, if you can get them, you'll get promoted with them two. And by the way, if you see them when they were playing for Russia, anyway, forget that for a minute. So I thought, well, no brainer that, we'll get these two. So I speak to Peter Mead, and we long-winded agreed to bring them in. The agent who came with them, he was Russian, spoke English. So I set a track up on the training ground because they hadn't been training. It was they'd closed in. So I had them running around these track, like, you know, intermittent and fitness work. And the coach then came and said, the agent said, the lads, you know, they've not been doing a lot, I think they've had enough, you know. So I thought, well, I'm not going to upset them the first day in training. So I said, yeah, okay. But they did have they showed a great degree of dislike for running around, the two of them, let me put it that way. And yeah, Vasily Kolkov and what's the other one?
Sergei Yuran.
Somebody said it was Sergei Yuran because he was piss poor, but I didn't like saying that. Sergei Yuran, yeah. And these two were two fabulous footballers. Yeah. They're seriously good players playing for these teams. They played against Arsenal it was a European Cup at the time. Yeah. And they were brilliant. And I watched them. I mean, it was wrong that we could even sign them, but I think they just came on holiday. We went to the first game they played was at Grimsby. Fucking good holiday for them too.
I was at that game. Oh no, yeah. Away.
And we won.
We won 2-1. Alex Ray scored both. One was a penalty. Yuran won the penalty. He looked really good that day.
Those two were brilliant. Yeah. They were a different class. So we come off, and then, I mean, Grimsby at the time, the dressing room's not great. So we come in and we're all buzzing, aren't we? And I went in, and there's Sergei Yuran and Vasily Kolkov afterwards. One of them sat in the bath with a fag on, and the other one sat in the cars with they both got a bottle of beer, and both got a fag. And I went in. I mean, you know, was I going to lift the roof with them? And I mean, we've just beaten Grimsby away, and we've been having a bit of a tough time. And these two lads have come in and played really well. trying to explain to them that they shouldn't be smoking in the bath and having a bottle of beer was not easy when neither of them spoke English. I didn't speak Russian. But that sort of set the tone for it. I heard they were out nightclubbing, doing all sorts, taking the money. They both came and took the dough and didn't contribute very much, I'm afraid. They weren't very professional.
How did they end up leaving? Did they leave before you, or I don't remember?
No, I left. My last game was Southend away, and I think that was my final act of signing those two. It's funny because Bobby Robson had really recommended them, and Bobby Robson he was a legend then. I'm only young and wet behind the ears. Said how good of players they were, and they'd be brilliant for you. If you got them two playing, they'd be. So I went to a Leeds game and for playing against, but I was there scouting, and Bobby was there scouting as well. And of course, we were sort of walking through the director's room, the room where they put the scouts and footballers. So Bobby, I said, "Hey, Bobby," he saw me, "Mick, how are you? Yeah, how are the two Russians doing for you?" Or how did they do for you? Because I'd left by that. I said, "Bob, they're a fucking disgrace, the pair of them, I'm afraid." I said, I'd love to dress it up for you, but the next thing it was a bit like, right, okay, Mick, see you. But I played in Bobby's charity golf day for years, and we were good friends. And we laughed about it, because it'd be a bit like me saying to somebody, I tell you what, if you can get John Goodman out of here and Alex Ray, I'm not saying they're as good as them two. They were Russian internationals. If you get them two out of our team, it'll enhance your team. And then they go there and play like shit. That's the equivalent of what we got, Because my first game for Ireland was Russia. We're playing Russia at home. So after I'd left, after that Southend game, it's Russia at home. And they'd played Malta prior to playing us. And as I do, I went to scout it in Malta, I went out to watch the game. And I'm sat up in the stand, in the director's box. And who comes up but fucking Sergei Urin and Vasily Kulkov. One of them's on the pitch and the other one comes up and says, he speaks to me. I went, of course, I'm polite to them. What do I do?
You speak English the other week when I was manager, and I kept telling you not to go out.
Yeah, no. I said, have you any Budweisers? Any, doing any? Seriously, they were. I felt sorry for Peter Mead there because he really supported me on that one. Everybody, we all thought it was like the best thing that had ever happened.
I remember, but the first day at the Den, it was Paul Vale. I don't think it's packed. You couldn't get in, guys. I used to always see it like back then. Doc as he stand up, or I had to sit West Lower because you've got the amount of people that turned up was unreal. But it's like from when you was the manager. I don't know if it's because of the age I was at. That's just the first go-to. My thought when I think of like Millwall back in the day. And I'm glad it happened because it still fascinates me to this day with the Russians.
There's only two reasons why it failed down.
Yeah, Vasily
Kulkov and Sergei Urin. Let me tell you, they were just fabulous players.
Yeah.
They were fabulous players. Think about two Russian internationals who had been playing for this Moscow team that had won all. I think they'd won all 6 games in their European Cup group. I think they used to have groups that played. They'd won every game. I think they battered Arsenal. They'd actually run riot against Arsenal. This was like a manna from heaven. It was a gift from heaven. These two players, and they turned out to be a pile of shite because they just didn't do it properly. They weren't professional and didn't run around, which is such a shame. It's a shame for the Millwall fans and the club because they should have took us forward and not took us back.
Yeah, 100%, mate. So eventually you leave the club. I loved you as that manager. 90% did. Everyone loved you when you was there. We was top of the league, and then we ended up getting relegated that year. When I put you coming on, loads of people, brilliant, can't wait. There was 2 or 3, you're going to get in. He left for Ireland, dropped us in the shit. But yeah, just what's your take on leaving the club and
I know. Well, I tell you what, my take on leaving the club in the top 6, like, I'm sure that's where we were, I think, at the time, weren't we? We were doing well.
Yeah.
But, we'd lost a couple. I know we lost at Stoke and we lost at Southend the last game. My take on it is that I think if you get offered an international job that you played for, you know, you played in a World Cup and a European Championship, you had 57 caps for, a bit of too much of a good offer to turn down. That's
brilliant. Your second job is brilliant, isn't it?
And when you consider as well, though, you asked me the question after the cup runs and finishing in the playoffs, was I ever looking for another club? I said, no. I spoke to Wolves, somebody from Wolves, well, allegedly rang me, and I said, no, thanks, and I stayed. Never even looking for it, because I thought I was, you know, wet behind the ears, really, at that, having 2 years. I was still wet behind the ears having 4 years, and certainly at international football. But I was never going to turn it down because, one, I probably wouldn't, if I turned it down, I might never get offered it again. And, you know, 2002, I ended up managing in a World Cup.
Yeah.
So if anybody can begrudge somebody that after doing what I think I've done a good job for 4 years, well, let them begrudge me, so I can't help it. Yeah. You know, I only ever gave everything I got at Millwall, and I love my time there. And I love the crack. I loved all the passion of the fans. I mean, I had arguments with some of them. I mean, you know, some of the stories I've had with them, but it's just because they want to win and they take it seriously, which I'm cool with that. You know, I'm happy with that.
Brilliant, mate. So
I tell you what, we had some great fun and all. Since I've come back, it's always I could come back on the Saturday, and I'm getting dogs abuse with the team, and I come back on Tuesday to watch our next game. You know, so you're playing Sheffield United on Tuesday night, so I come because I'm playing Wednesday night, so I come and watch that game, and I'm all I do is get my hand shook and everything. Mate, how you doing, Mickey boy? Let's have a picture there, all of that caper. And they've been calling me worse than shite on Saturday, and I love that because that you're playing against them. You know, they don't want you to win. They've got no love for you while you're playing against them. But on Tuesday night, it's all right. It's great. Yes. But some of the things I've had said when you're in the dugout, like the lads, just how funny the fans are. J-Tab, you remember J-Tab? Yeah. He's only about 5'6", something like that, and we're all wearing these blue tracksuits. We look like, I don't know, look at what were they calling us? They were singing, "You Can't Get Quick Fit Fitter," that song. They were singing to him but J-Tab comes out, and I didn't hear it, but the lads are all getting warmed up, and so you have to send 2 out and 2 back. So the 2 come into the dugout and say, Gaffer, fuck, you never hear what the fans are singing. They're just seeing Tabby go up there and they're singing, hi-ho, hi-ho, hi-ho. No, seriously, some of the stuff that you hear from them is comical. It's brilliant, yeah. I mean, I love that football fans are as quick as anything, but the Millwall, you can't get Quick Fit Fitter singing that to the lads in the blue tracksuit.
Brilliant. Just we'll finish off with some really quick questions. The best trainer, the best player to train, who was one of the best, put the most in training?
Rhino would train, but I had to have words with him because he'd whinge like hell in the warm-up every day. And I said, fucking that. I said, Rhino, I said, I've got no problem with you training. I said, but the problem is you affect all the others. So if you start off with fucking, what's this shit? What's fucking? I said, you affect other people. But he had the ability to have a whinge up and then run around like a blue ass fly and just do what he did. So he was a good trainer. But he whinged like anything. What we're doing this for? So, and then you do it, brilliant, trained wonderfully well. But there was some good ones. Young ones. Kenny Cunningham was always a good trainer. He was good. We had good lads. But Rhino, I'd say, Yeah, he trained like he played, Rhino.
What about worst training? You can't include the Russians because they've been covered.
Oh, they've won it hands down, without any doubt. I'm trying to think worst trainer. I have to tell you, I don't particularly let people train badly anyway.
No.
Some who wouldn't like. I can't really look back and think that. I'm sure there would be. If it'll come to me as soon as I put the phone down to you. I put it down, thinking, Jesus, yeah, what about him doing that? But anyway, I can't. I said to you before, you train like you play, you know. If you don't for us, if you didn't for me, you're off ski like. So, yeah,
That's good. That's good to know that no one tossed it off other than them two mad Russians.
And I remember Mr. Burr had been. I'll just tell you a story. He'd been badgered by. We weren't doing particularly well at the time, and there were some kids from a non-league side that came and played. You know, and he said, "I want you to have them in on training." They badgered him, said they've got these players. So, fucking hell, I said, "Yeah, okay." So I put them in training, and they were, you know, way away from it. And then we took them over and we had a small-sided game. And one of them scored about 5 goals. But it was on the pitch, was only like on a tennis court. There was only like 3 a side. He scored about 5 goals, but they lost about fucking 10-5. The other lads battered them, you know. And I always think back about them. They came and trained with us thinking they were like, you know, we're up for this. They were so far away from the level that it should have been. So, yeah, good trainers and bad trainers.
And just finally, mate, if you could pick one standout memory for your time at the club, what would you pick? Difficult. There's loads of big ones.
Yeah. Some of the cup games have got to be, you know, Arsenal away, Chelsea away, beating them. They were great victories, great nights. So the cup runs were brilliant. But getting into the playoffs when we did, so all that season, you know, getting into the playoffs, and then, you know, I regret that derby. It still haunts me, that one. Pisses me off, like it would everybody who watched it, I'm sure. So if anybody thinks I left and I wasn't bothered, it still fucking hurts. Let me just, still rankles with me that we were so shit against them. So, because everything had gone really well, you know.
Yeah, all season, yeah.
It had gone really well. We played really well, and we think, well, we're going to this, and we were just poor, and we got bashed. And they're the ones I remember, by the way. It's not. I'll tell you, if you tell me the worst, I could go through a few of them. If you ask me the best, because somebody says, "Why do you always remember the bad things?" I say, "Because they still fucking linger in my head. Because they're there. They annoy me still. You know, it's the good things. I wish I could just remember all the good ones."
Oh, mate, honestly, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. Like you said, some of the cup runs, etc., some of the memories I'll take to the grave with me. So really appreciate your time, mate. It was absolutely brilliant.
Well, you know, Dan, it was my first job. It was a real eye-opener going into it as a coach, as a manager. But I'll always be grateful for everybody who gave them my support. You know, certainly from Mr. Burr, from Peter Mead. Then when Peter Mead remains a friend of mine. But all the fans, I had a great rapport with them. Because I live in Bromley, don't I? I'm still.
I didn't want to say, yeah, but I know you're still local. That's probably why you picked up that really good Cockney accent you do. Yeah,
mate. Oh, my mate. I know everybody's a mate around here. Yeah, mate. Dan, it was a pleasure, mate. I'm glad I could help you out, pal.
Superb, mate. Thank you so much. Have a good Christmas, Mick. Thanks.
All the best to you, mate. You and your family.
Thank you. Bye-bye.